Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 168 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Tony from Industry Print Shop in Texas. Let's go!
Hey there, hot stuff.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey.
I was talking to Joanne. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Joanne.
Hey. You too.
You gotta call her doll face. Or sex kitten or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Beautiful's that's too bland.
She's over there dancing now for me.
As she should.
No, she's making a burrito.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Dude, so
Yeah, fucking we're doing what we shouldn't be doing. You know, we're like the people that go to the concert or the show and they have the fucking band's merch on.
yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the fucking Shirt Show camp shirt on. You got the hat on. We're fucking so lame.
I made myself a special hoodie.
Oh, cool.
Got one for you, big guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're setting that back up.
Nice.
Some more, so not yet though. It's crazy. It's bonkers here. How about you? What's going on up there?
Busy. It feels good. Feels good to be back.
To be back.
To be back.
Yeah, like you've been gone.
Yeah, like I've been gone for a year and a half. It's nice. Yeah, it's been pretty good. Some good changes happening. I don't know how deep you want to go into that, but
well, I'm all ears. Like if you need to say some stuff, I'll listen.
Okay. It's personal.
Oh, okay. Is it mean between me, like we can't record this?
No, we can record. I don't give a shit.
Are we recording?
I say everything on here.
Check.
Are we? Hey, will you pour some water on the front of your shirt so I can see what's underneath?
Oh, you can kind of see.
Yeah, you can see a little nip through there.
Do
you want to hear it or not?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got all the time.
Probably Sunday, I think it was. I don't know. I just kind of hit a little bit of a wall and realized that I've been, since I've been in my apartment, I've kind of been doing that like solo life stuff where basically I'm doing what I want. I'm eating what I want. I'm staying up too late. I'm doing all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of hit me on Sunday. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I staying up to like 2 a.m. every night? Or, even like midnight or 1 o'clock or whatever. And then I wake up and I've kind of been like slacking on walking as much. Like I still walk. I just don't do it every day. And a lot of that's been like the weather and whatever else. But it's like, there's just all this stuff. And then also I got a notification on my phone. I don't know if you get this, like the screen time notification, like how much you've been looking at your phone. And I got one the other day that was like, oh, congrats, you have less screen time than last week. And it was like, you're only down to like 8 hours a day now versus last week. I was like, 8 fucking hours a day. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So then I was like, dude, I have to stop. Like, I have to only pick up my phone if like it's a text message or like someone's messaging me, not just to like fucking doom scroll and like all this other stuff. So since Monday, I've been like really trying not to pick up my phone and just like walking and eating better and getting sleep and trying to go to bed by like 10:30, 11. It's been pretty awesome all week. Like I got so much work done. Like I got so much things where I have like 4 emails in my inbox right now, which hasn't been the case in so long. And work's busy. It feels good. Everything's good. So I feel like I'm on the right path. And then I talked to you this morning about getting the good stuff.
Well, it's all good stuff to hear though. And congrats.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's very adult of you. That's very mature because a lot of times, we start to spiral out like that. And it takes someone else to to tell us that, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
dude, like get your shit together, you know, but you recognized it on your own. Like, wait, I need to make a change.
I was doing
And then,
so good for like the last, year or two or whatever, where I was like, oh, I'm walking all the time. I'm eating better. I'm doing this. And then it was like, there's just a period where I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this fun stuff and whatever. And then I just end up staying up too late or watching movies or doing whatever. And it's like, just fucking go to bed, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's fair though, because I would say that it's in cycles. Life is a lot of times. And so you can't be like, stick to your schedule all of the time.
Yeah.
And so I get it. Like so I'm off sugar, right? And well, you know, I'm on no added sugars, but every once in a while I'll go through a patch where like I eat shit I shouldn't, you know, but then I just get back on. I don't think we can be like perfect humans every day. We are humans.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. But this is great to hear.
Yeah.
So happy for you.
Also, I don't know if do you follow like Dave Portnoy at all, or like the Barstool Sports thing?
Yeah, but you know, I'm not trying to like humble brag or anything. Like I'm literally hardly on social media. Yeah. I would put it this way. If I didn't have a business, I would delete all social media.
Dude, I had that talk with Bill yesterday. I was like, dude, the only reason why I still have any of it is because of the business. Like I do talk to a lot of people, which is great. And like, there's a lot of good out of it, but that's why I was like, I don't want to delete it. I just want to limit it. Like I wish
so badly that I didn't have Facebook. Yet I have to have Facebook because in order to have Instagram, like for a business anyway, it gets complicated. Yeah. And so every once in a while I'll get this like a direct message on Facebook, you know, for the business. And I hardly am, I don't know. And so now I have shared our login with Megan. And so we both see it, just because I hate so badly that we have it. And I don't even want to be on there looking.
Like I would almost rather contact everybody that I regularly talk to and just be like, here's my phone number, like text me.
Yeah. And
just like keep me off of it.
One of the things is I use this way more now. I hardly ever used this, is the do not disturb on your phone. Mm-hmm. And you can either put it to, like right now, I put it on Shirt Show. So it's like, because otherwise, you know, it
dings.
I have my computer. I don't think you do. You're not connected phone computer, are you?
No. Yeah.
So right now I'm on do not disturb because I just don't want to, like I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's my thoughts is that, yeah. So I didn't see, what were you saying? Did you see that?
Well, it's just funny because like I followed Dave because me and Chris used to love his like pizza review videos. Yeah, like, that's what got him like famous. And I mean, obviously like Barstool and all that stuff, but like, I'm not a sports guy. I don't give a fuck about sports at all. I don't care. I just like the pizza review videos because he's just
funny.
He's funny and he's just like a brutal, honest person like that. Yeah. It's just crude. And that's my humor. Like the shit that he says, I know people are like, oh God, toxic, whatever. And it's like, dude, that's the shit that makes me laugh. So like, whatever. So anyway, it's just funny because I don't know the whole story, but like, I guess he like sold off Barstool and was like part owner or something, this other thing. And now he bought it all back for like $1. And now he's like full owner again. But like, he keeps posting these videos that are like about him taking it back over and like overhauling things. And it's so like on the nose to shit that like me and you talk about. Like there was one I just watched like a half hour ago that was like, Dave confronts people who are late to work. He's like, I fucking got to work and everyone's supposed to be here by like 8:00. He's like, the office is empty. And then there's just fucking random like younger employees like walking in with their coffee and fucking laughing or whatever. And he's like, what the fuck? You're just like an hour late to work. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, there's stuff like that every day where he's just like, oh, this person thinks they're in charge of this department. And he's like, you're fired. And like, it's just like, he's going through and like overhauling the company because he's like, we're losing millions of dollars. And he's like, there's all these people just fucking around. Like the owners before him just let it go to hell. And now he's like coming in and cleaning the house. And it's just like, it's the same shit that like I've been trying to do for the last year with like Bill, is like putting structure and like all these things of like, hey, how about you guys be adults and like show up on time and like do what you're supposed to do and this and this. And it's like, it's just funny to see him do it. And you're like, dude, it's everywhere. Like it's
don't you think also that it will exist forever?
Yeah.
Like exactly. It'll never, it's not like 10 years from now, somebody comes up with the formula, and then that never it all goes away.
It's robots.
That's basically.
It's the reason why where it's funny. Like as a business owner, you hear people bitch like, like, oh, McDonald's has like kiosks now instead of people, and you're like, I 1,000,000% get it. Like I would do that too if I could.
Yeah, there's going to be robots actually putting the ketchup on the burger.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's not even going to be a human. Yeah, it's just
maybe
all robots.
Maybe one human.
Yeah, to put grease into the machines. That's about it.
Yeah.
Make sure the power doesn't go out. I don't know if I'm just being bitter about all that, but I totally understand it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just funny to hear and think about, whatever. But that's been my existence lately.
We were talking just a minute ago about, and I was in the design room, and we were talking about first cars, and one of the guys has like a 1-year-old or something, and I was like, so what are you gonna do for his first car? I said that because that's like going to be in the year 2040 that you're gonna get this car. And he said, oh well, I'm gonna do what my dad did, and you have $3,000, to buy a car, and you have to go find it, and then you have to pay for gas and insurance. I go, $3,000 in 2040.
Dude, my dad bought me a car once. It was $100.
And that's what my argument was. Is he was like, you need a junker. Like your first car
has to be a gigantic piece of shit that barely runs.
Exactly. So, but then he said, in 2040, I don't think that there'll be cars you drive. He thinks like he said that it'll convert over to like all autonomous cars. I said, there's no way that's happening in America anyway, because wherever you are, especially like where our guest today is from Texas, people are like, you're going to pry that steering wheel from my cold dead hands. Like there's no way that something's going to steer. Like, for me, like I'm going to drive my car, so
it's funny. I have a lot of friends who have like, cars they built or muscle cars or whatever. And like Chris has like a sweet El Camino, and like same thing. Like we like the classic car. We like it to be loud. We like it to be fucking ridiculous and obnoxious. And same with my shovelhead. Like the only reason why I ride that is to be an asshole, like to be loud and obnoxious and just have fun and rip around on it. And it's like, that's the appeal. That's the fun. And there's a show, I think it's on HBO right now, where what's his name? Who's the guy who plays Tony Stark?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. He has a show right now where he has a collection of like classic cars, and his whole show is him being like, oh, I'm turning them all electric. And it's just like, dude, like, fuck are you doing?
Well, one, the value will go to shit.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, I have this brand new like LS motor in this thing, but we're going to take it out and put like an all electric Tesla motor in or something. And it's like, I get it. I like electric cars. I honestly think my next car will be electric, but it's like, I'm not putting an electric in a fucking like Chevelle. Like I would drive the electric car and then I would do burnouts in the Chevelle. Like,
yeah, you're saying, so your argument is that there will always be,
I think there'll always be classic cars because it's like, it's a hobby, and it's like something you would drive around in the summertime. Just with the windows down and the top off or something on the weekends. It's not something you drive every day to work or sit in traffic with.
Right. True. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. My first couple cars were death traps. Like they were probably more dangerous than me just walking miles and miles somewhere.
I think I told everybody this, or I've said this on the show before. My first car was a Camaro 77. Mine was brand new. Just kidding.
Yeah, mine was a Buick Skylark that my dad bought for $100, and it was a fucking death trap. Like you had to drive it with the windows down, or you would suffocate to death.
You're saying because carbon monoxide was coming in?
Oh, there was no exhaust. It was just straight in the car.
Perfect.
It had like a lean, like the seat was back. I had to lean the entire time. It had no window. It's just, dude, it was awesome. It was amazing. It was some of the best stories in that thing. I spray painted it. It had teeth. It was great.
You have pictures?
No. And I really, really wish I had it before. And that's also when I was super into dumpster diving. So like, it was easy to pick me out. Like the cops could be like, oh, it's that car over there with like big eyes and teeth on it and like fucking flames and shit. Like it was just all like graffiti. The whole car was spray painted, like different things.
You need to get that exact car, buy that exact car and then recreate it.
I should just do that to my car now. I'll just go out to my Highlander and fucking put teeth on it.
Right. You want to stretch?
Let's do it. Oh yeah. Come on, Frank, bring it in.
Will you touch this for me, Jojo?
Oh, jeez. That's how it happens, isn't it? No foreplay. Hey, Joe.
How are you going to do it? You're going to come from...
She's just instinct now.
Which one?
Both hands.
Both hands? That's not true. Don't try to say that for the people.
Both.
Ready?
Frank. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for your help.
It all starts with the screen, Dylan, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. Find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Frank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com. I loved seeing, I know there's people that came to camp and saw all the stuff and whatever, but we posted some things about the shirt calling side by side with like the standard mesh versus the other one.
Yep.
And I got so many people like seeing that and commenting and like ordering Franks because of that.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Dylan, if you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Or Nick or Lucas.
At Graphics Source. And let them run your art department so you can focus on running your business.
Yes. We just brought them up here yesterday because Brian is going to Ireland for 2 weeks. And I was like, well, fuck, I might have to call up the old graphic source and see if they can help me do some steps for 2 weeks.
Definitely can. Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru to get the answers you need. Or I'm going to add one more thing. Go to Bob's video. Did you see that thing?
I did, yeah.
He recorded basically the entire
thing.
Yeah. His entire presentation in the screen room, which is lots of good info on there. So go check that out. Should we put a link somewhere? Can we do that?
We could, if Chad could put it in the notes of the video.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to be hanging out with Kev here pretty soon.
Lucky.
By end of September.
Going to Disney together?
Getting that laser in. Said Kevin's coming with a laser. It's pew pew laser.
If you're not using DTF or screen print transfers in your shop, then you are doing something wrong.
Yeah. Politely.
We have partnered with Howard Custom Transfers to get you the transfer you need fast. So check them out at howardcd.com.
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and do it right.
Hey, who do we got on today, bud?
Dylan, today's guest is long overdue. He is Austin, Texas's own Tony Diaz, a.k.a. Tony Industry, a.k.a. Dad, a.k.a. Sweet Tea, a.k.a.
Sweet Tea.
Sweet Tea, Sweet Dash Tea, a.k.a. Tone Deaf.
What's up, dude?
I think I got them all.
Hyphens.
Lots of hyphens.
What's
How's
up,
it going,
fellas?
man? How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we kind of talked to you a little bit in, what was it? Long Beach? Or
Yeah.
Yep. Long Beach.
was it Long Beach? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, Tony. It wasn't enough to fill my cup. So we had to have you back.
Awesome. You can feed off of my saucer.
Okay, cool. What's going on with you now? What's your Wednesday looking like?
Just kind of normal day to day. I'm handling some client stuff, just getting some stuff processed in the system. And honestly, I kind of got something landed in my lap, like non-business related. That's like, okay, I got to put a little bit of focus in that. I've been assistant coaching my daughter's softball team. So I get to the coaches meeting, and this has happened before with other things. They're like, we don't have a coach. You're the coach. It's like, okay. And like head coaching is like, that's a whole different story, And
right.
Like
you're not helping.
Yeah.
You're
Now she's aged up to like 14U, which is right before like you completely age out of rec. So like at 14U, it's the oldest league. And so it's more intense. The level of play is a little bit more intense. It's higher. And then they're also like 13, 14-year-olds that are, they're kind of like, herding cats sometimes.
What is that like? Because I've always thought that because I played a lot of sports as a kid. Well, not a lot of sports, but like I played baseball and lacrosse. And in Pee Wee and stuff, it was always like dads and stuff, like were the coaches. It was never like, oh, this is necessarily a serious coach. But what is that like? Do you just like sign up and you're like, do you know everything about softball? Like, do you know like actual ways to teach them? Or is it more just like you said, like herding cats and being like, hey, let's play the game?
All right. So my daughter wanted to play softball. I'm like, cool. You sign them up this very first season. Never played before. She's like showing up to practice, the very first practice with like my old glove, right? Just like, and so, when you sign them up, it's like, there's a whole, we're a volunteer organization, et cetera, et cetera. We need, we count on the parents. And so I'm like, well, I'll run some concession stands. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I'll
slinging hot dogs.
What I'll do is like, I'll brand the team. I'll have spirit wear. Like it's going to, like these That's are awesome. Like things that, so we get to there and we do the parents meeting. And the poor coach, she's like, I don't have any assistants. Nobody signed up. And I need some help. Like I didn't sign up either, but this was like, I have to take it on. And I really need help. And I'm looking around and, this is this was 21. Yeah. The fall of 21. So we're coming out of COVID, right? Like I'm still in like, I'm still back in the shop. Like, I'm feeling over, like, I'm just like, I can't handle that. Like I wouldn't be able to, and to answer your question, no, I don't know softball. I know enough about baseball, but right. It translates, but not all the time. And definitely not enough to be able to this, like this is what's wrong with your swing.
Hey, but
right?
here's the thing.
Like nothing like that.
You, just like Ted Lasso, are a good leader. He knew football, like football, American football, and then he goes and coaches soccer. He knew nothing about soccer, but he was a good coach. And so I think I feel like running a shop for as long as you have probably has taught you how to be a pretty good coach.
It's actually, I feel like the other way around, honestly. So like I'm there and I'm looking around and there's the girls are with the parents and there's like 2 sets of parents. A couple of girls have 4 parents there, 2 dads. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, it had to have been like the longest 10 seconds of my life of just silence, just like everybody kind of looking around. And I don't know why, I don't know what it was. I did not want to do it, but it just came out. It's like, yeah, I got you, coach. And that was the best decision, one of the awesome. Best decisions of my life. I absolutely fell in love with doing that. And with being an assistant, yes, I'm a leader. I've something that's kind of like I've always been in that. I've had that trait. And it's taught me so much. It's really allowed me to get into the frame of mind that we're developing kids, right? But not only that, I'm finding situations that are like at the shop, and that at the shop I can apply that to the team. Teamwork, communication, just all of these different things. And it's been amazing. And now, well, I said the head coach, I was saying I've always been a leader, and being an assistant, I've only been an employee, a few times growing up. Right. But I was the best damn employee. Like anything every job that I had, my first job was, really my grandparents owned a toy store in San Antonio. And that was really like my first job.
Did they spoil you with toys?
They did not spoil me at all. You had to work for that shit. You want that G.I. Joe? All right, this is what you got to do.
You're working in the store.
Absolutely. Ringing people up and doing all kinds of stuff. But my first job was Foot Locker, and I was like the youngest key holder at Foot Locker. It was just I'm just an overachiever.
Yeah.
I like to bring value to whatever I'm doing, and I think that it always took me to the top. So being an assistant allowed me to kind of be an employee and do that really well. And so I've been doing that. We're about probably like 5-6 seasons in. I'm going to be taking a team. Last year, my son wanted to start playing basketball, and that was the same story. I walked up. I'm like, I'm going to be your assistant. I signed up to be an assistant coach, show up to the coaches meeting. And I'm like, I'm Tony. I'm the assistant. Like, who do I report to? Like, I'm ready. You got me. Right. And the director's like, you're the coach. And just kind of like threw the roster on my chest. And I'm just, okay. And the same story. Like, I know enough, but I don't know enough to be able to like coach or know what that call was and why was that call made. Right. But I did it. And luckily I made a really good friend coaching, and he loves basketball, and he came on and he helped me out. And we had a really good season. We finished third, and we finished out the season where every single one of my players on the roster scored. And for me, that was the biggest thing.
Right. You didn't
because when you look at the score sheets, right? You look at the score sheets, all the other teams had like 4 or 5 kids with points. And out of those 4 or 5, 2 were like the majority of those points.
Right.
So it's like these players are like carrying this team, but we really truly played as a unit. And it was my first time coaching. It was my son's first time playing. And I'll call that a win. I went through some coach training with that program, and they're like, your only job as a coach, or the way to measure if you did a good job, is whether or not A, your kids had fun, and B, they sign up next season. And so like, I'll find out here in a month or so after softball.
If they want to come back.
If they're coming back, but I felt like I did.
So how has that affected your business leadership then, being a coach?
It's only amplified those characteristics, because now I walk into the situation as an authority figure. I mean, I guess I walk into both situations as an authority figure, but it's been 16 years that I've had the shop that I'm just so like, you're just in it, right? You're just in it. And I'm completely removed out of my element and made uncomfortable. And I'm forced to adapt and learn and read and study. And because like I care about these kids. And essentially what it's done, it's allowed me to just kind of pull away. It's given me something else to focus on, especially after the workday. After the workday, it's practice. And so it's very much for myself too, it's very much an exercise of mindfulness and nowness. Like, here's the moment. This is the moment. This is the only thing that matters. When I'm on the field, I'm only thinking about being on the dirt with the girls. Like, right. The ball is the ball going to hit me in the face? Like, you have to be in that moment. And so it's allowed me to it's a practice and it's an exercise that I'm able to put into the day-to-day at the shop. And, when we do staff meetings and stuff like that, I bring up things about the team or things about sports now more so than I ever have, because I'm able to see these correlations, right. Where about how team sports is really, really like helps set the foundation for youth. Team sports really sets a foundation for a good human being. I don't know. Like, this only way I can feel I can talk about it, or you have to be present. You have to
be on time.
You have to forgive yourself if you're making a mistake, because like, if you make a mistake on the field, then you're just sitting in that mistake and everything is just going to be a mistake after that. Cause whatever you're focused on is what is it being attracted to you, Yeah. So I'm able to kind of, hey, don't beat yourself up about this. Like, you put in effort. And so when an employee makes a mistake, I'm like, that mistakes are going to happen, but at least you put in effort. Like, you tried. I saw that you tried. I know that you tried. I know where your intentions were. So let's just be okay. Like, I'm not disappointed in you. Like, maybe I'm disappointed in the situation, but that's not, I remove the situation from an actual person. I mean, obviously, unless the person is like, obviously the problem, but that's hardly the case. And you have to approach these kids with empathy, and it just only amplifies that skill set and the EQ to be able to put that into the shop.
Well, I apologize then for missing one of your AKAs, because we have to have coach now. Unless, what do you go by on the field? What's on your jersey?
Tony, Coach Tony, Coach T, Coach Tony. My buddy that helped me coach basketball, Justin, he calls me Coach Business. I guess I don't know where that came from, but he said Coach Business.
So we kind of have a little bit of a weird episode because you got so many listener questions.
Amazing.
So the one thing we want to do before we get into that is I kind of want to, if you're willing, just give your story, like how you got into it and how you got to where you are now. And I know you're kind of a different shop, not necessarily different, but like you seem to do a lot more like events and art spaces and collabs and stuff like that. So if you could kind of say how you got to where that's kind of a lot of your focus, then we can dive into these 100 listener questions.
Amazing. Yeah. Awesome. So, as I'm sure, 90% of everybody's origin story that's going to be watching or listening to this, I wanted to be a rock star, was in a band, and, I started playing in a band when I was 16 years old. And that I went to a punk rock show and I just absolutely fell in love. I just was completely blown away. And what stuck in my head, or what made such an impression, was that the band was right there. It was accessible. They got off stage. You know, I had been to concerts before, you know, I saw plenty of bands before going to like, you know, a dive spot, you know, and watching like a punk band. And, you know, they unload the gear and, you know, they're at the merch table, they're hanging out, they're just in the parking lot, like talking to everybody.
Fully involved.
And I just thought that was so cool. Mm-hmm. Like they're just we're hanging out in your van, we're around here in the parking lot, I'm sitting down, listening to stories. And I just fell in love. I was just, you know, I was just swept off my feet by it.
Yeah.
And the next day I bought a guitar. I had money and saved up, and I went and bought a guitar and go to the guitar shop. And the guy's like, you play guitar? I was like, yeah. He's like, cool. Let's see what you got. And that is just like,
I don't think I've ever talked about this out loud other than with bandmates, but the most intimidating people I've ever met in my life are the people at like a music store or like a guitar tech store. They are the most dickhead, intimidating people ever.
So judgmental. Every little thing you do, every little thing you buy, whatever, they're like, oh, you use that. It's like the dad saying they're not mad, they're disappointed. It's like that times 100 at every music store guy. So like, as soon as you said that, I got like that washed over feeling of like buying anything from any music store. And so I'm sorry, continue. You just gave me flashback anxiety. I'm sorry. No, it was just like, you know, I was like, well, you know, I mean, I don't even remember what I said, but like, I mean, essentially he caught me, and I was like, well, I really want to learn how to play. You know, I told him I went to the show last night, and you know, I'm here and play guitar. He's like, cool, and he showed me a power chord. And then pretty much like the next day, a friend of mine like had a drum set, and then we're in a band. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I moved to Austin, and I move up with a buddy. We're starting a band, and you know, when you're starting or when you're in a band, it's a group, and it's very much a singular goal. Yeah, it has to be a singular goal. You know, we're gonna write songs, and we're gonna record, and we're gonna go on tour, and we're gonna do this is the business plan essentially. Right. But you know, we're like fresh out of high school, and you know, starting this band and with people in Austin, and it's like there's girlfriends and jobs and school, and just it was hard. Like I saw, like we tried for it like maybe like a year, 18 months, but I saw really quickly like this is not going to go the way I want it to go. But I still loved punk rock. I still loved the scene. I still loved everything about it. I loved playing. And I just was, well, maybe I don't know where it came from. But I was like, maybe I can make some t-shirts. And so I started out with I was like, well, I'm going to start a clothing line. And this is in like 2000, 99, 2000. Yeah, 2000. And so this is like before, you know, Atticus and Famous and Made and like all these like pop punk lifestyle brands. Like that was the beginning of like a lifestyle brand. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm out there. I start this t-shirt line, and I start putting these, you know, designs on t-shirts and swagging out the bands. And then I got my way to starting to set up at the shows. And so the kids would see the bands, you know, here in Austin, like wearing it. And then they're like, oh, well, this is what this is. And I'm back there and I'm slinging it. And the bands eventually said, hey, look, man, like, this is totally cool. I have no problem with you doing this. We love it. It's all good. But do you think you could sell our merch too? Because they don't want to do that. Like they want to party. They want to hang out. They want to do their thing. They don't want to be stuck at the merch table unless they want to come out. Like, otherwise, you have to like man it. I was like, I got you. And the reason why I was just like, absolutely, had nothing to do with my stuff. But now I'm like, now I'm a part of this. Now I'm a contributor. Now, like, you know, and I'm a passionate individual. And when I'm really passionate about something, it's hard to contain it. And, I mean, I loved these bands that I became friends with. First, I was a fan and I loved them. They were my heroes. And then I'm their friends. And then I'm like a part of this unit. Right.
Now you're the merch guy.
I'm the merch guy. And quickly finding out that that's where the money is made. And quickly finding out that if I am like, it was just natural. But when the bands would go on, I was like right up front. Like I was behind the merch table, but mentally and physically, I was right at the front, like the fingers up and the fist pumping and the singing along and the jumping up with the band during the break and all that stuff. I was just like, I was there. And what that does is like, that's contagious, you know, like people are like, whoa, like this guy really likes this band. And so they pay more attention to it.
So you're a hype man.
Yeah, exactly. And so that converted to sales. So the more that like the thing was like, if I'm with this band, I really love this band, then like I'm gonna, for a lack of better words, perform along with the band remotely. Right. And it was just from a complete genuine love of what I was doing.
So did you get more involved with the merch process after that then, instead of just
I essentially got more involved with like being like a professional merch person, right? Started going out on tour with these bands. And all the while with that, it's like, okay, I'm learning Photoshop, you know, I'm learning these design tools. I'm starting to come up with these designs. And
were you printing the shirts too, or were you outsourcing that?
No, I was, there was this guy in a garage, and what I would do is like I would go to his house and just hang out. Like I would mow his lawn, like wash his car, like just hang out, you know, sweep up, and I just was like, I'm cool. Like I just want to learn, you know. And he was like, all right, cool. So he showed me everything, and I wasn't printing, but I was at that place where
you were observing
was being made. Yeah, I was a part of the problem. I was a catcher, you know, if you will. And it was real intimidating for me at that point, but like I was just happy to be around it and learn. And then I went out on the road. Some friends that there was a band that I really, truly loved. It was one of my favorite bands. I had gotten married in September of 2003 and went on our honeymoon and came back, and I got a call from my buddies in Autopilot Off, and they said, we just signed a major record deal, just recorded our record. It's releasing next year. We're doing a whole tour. Would you come out and be our merch guy? And I mean, it's like getting the call of the big show, you know, like, wow, what? This is it. Because the goal always had been to like not record, not be in a band to like make the music, but like the experience of being on tour, of traveling.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Yeah.
That's what like, I was just like, man, you just go city to city? Like, this is amazing. Spreading energy and your music and, you know, like to people that want to hear you, like, that's amazing. And so I was like, I got hung up the phone, and I go to Jennifer, and it's like, APO, APO just said that they got a deal and asked me to go on tour. And she was like, fucking, when do you leave?
Right.
Brad, go, and that was amazing. Like, that was actually the first question I had from listener questions, which was from Rob, and Rob's from here. He's like 15 minutes from me. He says, well, we'll get into this one now. He said, what was your favorite memory from slinging t-shirts on the road with autopilot off? I mean, every single one of them, but I will say this. It was before they took me out on another tour before this, essentially hiring me to be a part of the band.
Right.
And we went on, I was their merch guy for this tour. It was Autopilot Off, The Movie Life, Glassjaw, and Newfound Glory. And I knew the Newfound guys too, like before this tour, like I knew them. Just because I'm just a complete scenester, a scene kid, just like all over the places, knowing how I can get to the bands and hang out with them and meet them. And, all these bands would like stay at my house on the floor and stuff like that. So I was like really excited. And that there was, I believe it was in Worcester, Massachusetts. And it was either on Easter or right around Easter. And I remember being like, if I die tonight, I would be the happiest person, because it was just this realization of like, man, like you're out here, you're doing like, this is what you wanted to do, and it was just, I don't know, it was a few weeks maybe, but it was like, I love this. Yes, I do love this. This is what I want to do. And I would say that was my favorite. That's my favorite memory.
The realization
that being like, I really do want to do this. And I am so happy. Just the feeling of pure happiness. I felt like a kid. Right. Awesome. And, I will say this just because like, I want to honor the memory. The tour manager, Josh Stern, became a really good friend. And he was really like, there's a lot of like the fifth, the sixth member of Autopilot Off, but like he truly was like a major artery connected to that band. And he passed a few years back. And I would say that, Josh's memory is something that always like, I miss him. And he's one of my favorite memories as well.
That's awesome. So when that tour ended, what did you do? Did you you're a married man, tour's over?
I feel like that one was before I was even married. Actually, I think it was like maybe a year or so, probably like a few months before I even met Jennifer. And in between that one, I was, I came back home. As I was saying, like I'm like an amazing employee. And what I was really doing at that time, as opposed to like on top of starting this t-shirt line, just kind of being a scene kid and all that, was I was a store manager at Hot Topic. I was like super retail, like superstar. And I had a $3 million store here in Austin. I was running it, had a really cool staff. And so getting paid like really, really well. Not even just for my age, but just like in general. And so I just came back to my regular day, I was like, all right, cool. Come back home, go to work, try to do this band thing or sell these t-shirts or whatever. And in between that, I was going out on the road with other bands like Dynamite Boy or Over It. And what would happen is like they would come into town and then I would just kind of like leave with them, And so I was kind of like just jumping around doing these little tours when I could. And then I got that call from Chris Hughes and Autopilot Off and was like, yo,
the big one.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
And you said something about how a minute ago, how you had like came to it was a revelation really that, this is what I love. Like I'm actually doing what I love. And I think that's really common in our industry for screen printers. Like I know at that time you weren't actually printing, you were involved in printing though with merch and you were doing something you really loved with t-shirts. But I think that a lot of people that would resonate with, honestly, because we're really, really lucky. We somehow discovered printing t-shirts, fell in love with it. And then we have this shop that scales somewhere along the way. Sometimes you get lost because that happened to me anyway. I think it happens to a lot of us because all of a sudden you're not involved in printing anymore. You're running a business, and that's gross sometimes, when you're like, wait, this isn't fun. Mm-hmm. And so you have to get back in somehow doing what you really, really love. But I think that that's really common. I think that a lot of people in screen printing, because I hear this a lot of people in the screen printing industry are doing what they love. I think that's kick ass, and cheers to that.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're very fortunate. So I'll try to bump this up. So I'm on the road with Autopilot Off, really giving me my time. And for the next couple of years, like I was, we were on tour for like all of 2004, essentially. I was home maybe like a total of like maybe 8 to 10 weeks, like kind of scattered here and there. We were just on the road. And then after that tour, I think they were going to do something like maybe like go to Japan and just kind of take a break, maybe start writing a new record, et cetera. And at that point is when I think they just decided to take a more of an extended break. And so once I was like, all right, cool. Hey, before I even knew that, before anybody really knew that, it was like, all right, we're taking a break. And I'm like, well, okay, cool. Where am I going? So I started touring with Rufio, and I was their merch guy. And it was on that tour that my buddies in Near Miss, I ran into them. And like sometimes like you go to Phoenix and like, a band's still there or is going to be there tomorrow or is whatever. And so we just kind of met up, and they were telling me, yeah, we just finished recording, we're short a guitar player. And, we're sitting there, I'm like helping them brainstorm, like, what about this guy? And, oh yeah, what about that guy? And, it was like, oh wait, you play guitar, right? You want to do it? Let's go. And so, so Jeremy, the singer, and we got together, and he sat down, and I had like my camcorder, right? Like, VHS-C, and I just like set it in front of him and hit play on the demo CD that they cut. And he played along with it, like just unplugged, just played along with it. And for the next like few months when I was out with Rufio, I was just sitting, I had like a Dell 1100, I don't remember what it was called, it's super thick, but I would be in the back of the van, like watching the video and like playing the guitar, like learning the songs just by watching and listening. We're on tour, we're on the Warped Tour. And now like, I'm like, this is like, I'm playing, like, this is sick. And, we're on Warped Tour. We go to Canada, and the Canadians, they love their own. And our drummer was Canadian, and they put us on the main stage. And we get to like what our single was. And we are like, it's just insane. The energy is just thick, and you feel everybody's just bouncing in unison, and just like, you're in this like this air of just like raw energy. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I was like, this was like a complete true, like, that movie Soul where Joe gets pulled out and he's in the flow and he's just kind of like that's what happened really, like for me. Mm-hmm. And it was very euphoric, and I don't even know if I was playing, and it was just really, just this very surreal moment, and, kind of come to, and, it's like, this is it. Like, you're fucking living, like, mom was right. Like, you work hard, you don't give up, you just persist and persist, and like good shit's gonna happen. And it was just like, oh man, I've never felt so more uplifted and just like on top of the world, and just completely living in elation. And the next day I woke up and I was completely over it. I was done. I was just so like, I felt like that moment like is what like kind of like drained it. Like, it was like, this is like, you're ready for like, you go home, like speak with your wife, like, because all along the time, like I've been designing, and now by that point, like, yeah, I was pulling a squeegee when I was home, and, the little bouts here and there, like I was like, that garage turned into like a shop in a little office warehouse spot, and like, just kind of doing that stuff. And I was like, I was married to music, but my side chick was like design and screen printing. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, the music was just like, I don't know how much more I can grow within this, or how much I even want to grow within this, knowing all that I know being from the inside. Right. And it's not that it's bad, but it's just, it's tough. Regardless of you're living out your dream and you love it and all this stuff. It's really tough. Mentally, physically, it's just.
So you hard. Decided to go home and just pursue the side chick?
Yep. I went home. This was like towards the end of 2006. I went to that shop, and at that point, the shop owner was selling the shop. He sold it to somebody that was working there. That guy hired me on to be like the general manager, and it lasted like a few months. So things weren't just working out between us. And then I formed Industry in April of 2007.
So then once you formed Industry, what was your focus? Were you just kind of taking orders, screen printing like normal, or were you trying to do?
My focus was to like, I opened up in a spot that was like kind of off the beaten path. The other place had a decent amount of foot traffic, and like that, I hated that. I hated dealing with walk-ins. Hey man, how much for, what can we do? I got this idea. It's like, I didn't want to deal with that. That was just like a complete time suck.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I had taken my contacts from the bands and stuff like that. And I was printing for a lot of the bands that I was on tour with and doing stuff with. My first client, like invoice 001, is Empire BMX. And they're they started off essentially as kind of like being like the CCS of BMX. It's kind of like mail order BMX parts and bikes and gear and stuff. But they were like the one. Like that was like, I would be on tour, I would wear an Empire shirt. I don't ride BMX, but I had an Empire shirt because we were printing them at the other shop, and people would be like, what do you know about Empire? Like Empire? I've never seen that shirt before. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know I don't ride. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. But like, I print these. Right. And, that was always really cool to like meet with kids in Ohio and talk about Empire, but they were like, when I told them I'm leaving the shop, I just wanted to say it was great to, work with you guys. And, I wasn't trying to poach them. It was just saying goodbye. Yeah. And they were like, no, like I'm coming with you. Like I can get shirts anywhere, but like,
it's you that they're investing in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I was always very extremely grateful. And to this day, they were invoice 001, and then they were also invoice 10,000.
Nice.
Yeah. And we're still going at
Dylan,
it.
do you still have customers, like day one customers, that have been with you for 14 years?
Yeah, I have a couple. That's kind of like one of the ones we were just talking about before we got on. And it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like Tony said, it's like you just form a relationship and hopefully you do right by them all the time. You know what I mean? And they stick with you and they come to you for you, not for necessarily the printing.
I think that's usually the case anyway, right? But there's times where maybe the person that's in, the buyer or whatever for that organization moves on, and then there's a new buyer and they use, somebody else. And so I think it's really hard to.
That's a whole other set of challenges that like I can talk about how I've been navigating that. But I don't know what's next on the agenda.
Yeah, no, like let's hear. Yeah,
so, at that point, with certain clients, have been with us for a really long time, or for like day one for them, right? Maybe not day one for us, but day one for them. And you invest a lot of time in training up those people, right? Like how to order, what to look for, like, things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do. And it's like, then somebody else comes on, maybe they have their own relationships and, or they're just like fresh, like, I don't know what I'm doing here, because a lot of, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, like the people that are ordering, like for these organizations or businesses, this is not the only thing they do. Right. They're doing the scheduling, they're doing this, they're front of house, like, or their operations manager, like they're doing a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times the ordering merch is reactionary. Oh shit, we don't have any larges. Right. So it becomes a reactionary thing, and it becomes, because it's a reactionary thing, it becomes a stressful thing. So the way that I've been approaching it is like, especially over these past few years when like just turnover is just, constant, is like, I go to these businesses and I say, I want to onboard you. I want to talk about our relationship, I want to bring you up to speed on the relationship that industry and your company have formed.
Right.
And this is why it works. You
want to create a partnership, not necessarily just like we're a service you come to when you need it at the end of the day.
100%. And I focus on like trying to figure out what their pain points are and what matters to them. But also just like, letting them know, like, you get somebody new, like, can you send the catalog so I can see everything? And it's like, no, please don't see everything. Like, This is what you order. You don't need everything. Please, you don't need everything. You don't need to look. You need to look at these like 6 links, right? Because these are your staple items. Once you get, this is a progression. Like once we get this down and we're consistent and we show you that like this works, then we can start, okay, you want a polo or you want this or you want that. Like, but like, let's start with like,
get their feet wet.
Simple. Let's get these, your staples that you've been ordering over the last 10 years. Let's not change that because it's working. It's a part of your identity. We know this.
Tony.
And yes.
Are you personally going to these meetings, and also are you personally setting them up? And how do you, like, what's your approach? You email them and say, hey, I'd like to get together. Let's grab some coffee or something. I mean, what do you do to set up these meetings?
Usually, yes, they are me. And now I'm having my team come out with me so they can see how I communicate with them and work with them. How do I set them up? I usually have some sort of word or, kind of just reach out. Hey, it's been a minute since you ordered. Is there, whatever the case may be. Another like the ones that really kind of help spark this is kind of like the same email that I sent to Empire. Hey, I'm moving on. It was really great to work with you. If I find a need to be able to order from you again, like you're going to be my go-to, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. So then at that point, I'm like, okay, cool. This is on my radar. They're either hiring somebody or they're looking for somebody. And what I would really, really like to be able to try to do is it hasn't come to fruition. There's been some conversations, is like, don't hire for this position. Unless, like, don't hire somebody just to order merch. And also, if you need to hire, you need an operations manager, get an operations manager. But don't make this part of their responsibilities, right? Like, to oversee it, yes. But to help get the merch in, like, let us do that. Like,
right.
Let us come in and be your, like, we're your in-house, like, merch order person. Yep. We'll come out to you however often we need to, twice a month. We'll review stock. We'll review upcoming events, what's going on. We'll come and we'll show new designs or new garments that are coming out that we feel like would be a fit. And just kind of like be more proactive as you said, partner with these businesses and completely take that off of their plate. Like, that's so much, there's a ton of value there.
Yeah. So if they're like an ice cream store and they could have a pretty dope merch line, but they're really good at making ice cream. You're suggesting, like, stick with that. Like, you guys make ice cream. We're really good at making t-shirts. Let us handle all that. Yeah. And then split it somehow. You know what I mean? Because a lot of business owners or whatever, small business owners, they think they're going to save money by, we're going to design the merch, or we're going to buy the merch, like the actual blanks and things like that. I mean, so you're offering like a package deal, really. Absolutely. Like, we want to be like essentially like your employee. Like, but here's the thing, like, here's why, like, maybe it costs a little bit more, like line item wise or whatever the case may be, but you're saving on an employee. You're saving on like that extra payroll tax, but not only any of that stuff, if like you have to hire somebody to fill a position where this is what they're doing, how much more like productive and will they be if this is not on their plate? Mm-hmm. Plus, how much better is their merch going to be? And how much more money are they going to make? Right? Because if you just hand over the keys and we can just like be a part of this, like, right. Like we have a lot of skin in the game now. I just had this exact conversation with one of my big corporate clients, and it was kind of the thing, like, you get involved with all these people. It's like, oh, this person's the coordinator of this, and this person's the head of this department for national and whatever. And it's like, they have 100,000 things on their plate already. And then you finally get like a Zoom meeting with them or whatever, and you're going over stuff, and they're like, well, we'd really like to do this, but we order from this place, and I have to talk to this person about this thing. And I'm like, well, why don't you guys just, like, next time you have a meeting or something you want to do that has anything to do with this, just, I'll sit in with it, and then I can talk to you about, like, you know, because a lot of people that order shirts just think that shirts come with the design, and they don't know how it's printed. They don't know the technique. They don't know anything. They just think design on apparel, done. Like, our job's done. And then it's like, all right, well, there's a million ways we could print this. We could do puff ink. We could do discharge. We could do plastisol. We could do this, and this, or we could use this new garment that has, like, one of the things we were talking about is they were just using like a basic Gildan hoodie, which is fine. But I was like, for this specific one you're trying to do, there's other hoodies now that have like a little pocket within the pocket that's like for a cell phone and stuff like that. And I was like, there's all these options of things that we could do to just elevate the merch you're trying to do, to just make it better, or offer new things and just stand out a little bit. And they were so stoked to be like, not only could we give them really cool product with all these different techniques, but it was also like, we could take it off their plate. Like Tony said, it's just like, you could see it in their eyes and their shoulders. They're like, oh God, you're going to handle this for me. Like, this is the best thing ever. 100%. And, I like to even take it a step further sometimes with that, is like, when you have a new project, and, you know, especially when clients are like just, you know, notoriously ambitious, it's like, before you start concepting, like, let me be a part of that concepting. Yeah. And I can really help, you know, advise, like manage expectations of what's actually possible. So that way we can design that's within that, but like really push the envelope still, but like
not have this expectation of like something you see on the computer screen and that's what it's going to look like. Right. So I think that that's a very trying to get in on at that level as well. Like when you start a project, like let me know before you're concepting designs and essentially, you know, like I specifically
let the master get involved.
Clients.
Yeah. All right. I want to dive into some of these questions because some of them are kind of relevant to what we're talking about here.
Cool. Did that get everybody? Did we cover that though? Right. Band, then done and started shop.
It got your origin story in there.
Okay, cool. I just making sure I hit everything you need.
All right. So Mad Musty Studios says, when did you feel the need to pull a team on? I have been doing this for the last almost year now by myself, printing posters and shirts, all on top of the designing it for the bands I was working with. Feeling spread thin. Hope to get some words of wisdom from my mentor. And there's a part 2 to this one because they were very similar questions. Adrian said, in the early days, how did the team come together? Seems like from the start, you had a great group of artists, designers, sales peeps, press operators, etc. Was it by building the team slowly, or did you get everybody on board fairly quickly? So I feel like both of these people seem to be like, how did you grow the team that you have to be a successful print shop that you have?
Cool. So first, I'm going to shout out to Chad, the Mad and Musty guy. He's here in Austin. He was actually, he worked at the shop. He's, you know, doing his own thing now. So like, I'm real proud of him. He was definitely, I'm just gonna tell you this quick little story. So he was like, started off like kind of like intern, right? Like, you know, and you kind of gave him a task to like reorganize the ink, water-based and plastisol, you know? And he came out with this like, you know, with this container and he's like, I can't tell if it's plastisol or water-based. Like, you know, I was like, if you can't tell, like you should be able to smell it. Like before, like we even, you know, like it smells like this. And he's like, I smelled it and like, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, and I saw too, I was like, well, yeah, this is questionable. And so I'm like, you know, first of all, I'm like, you know, did you smell it? And he's like, yeah. I can't really decipher it. And I was like, well, did you taste it? And the dude like goes like, puts his finger in the ink and is like going to put it. I was like, no. Oh, so it was, you know, he's really, yeah, no, not at all. But I'm really stuck what he's doing. So when did I find the need? I had been doing the shop. It was probably like maybe a year, probably a little less than a year. And I started the shop with like the intention of just being like, wanted it to be pretty low key. I didn't want to have walk-ins. I just like something, I didn't go into this thinking that this was going to be like my career. I thought this was going to be something that was going to kind of like fill the void until maybe like, I don't know what, you know, the next tour, maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I was done. But still, I was just like, you know, I had gotten offers actually by some really big bands to go back out on tour as their merch guy. So I mean, I did have some options, but I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I just wanted it to be like kind of chill, low key, something I can have some freedom with. And, you know, and I got bored. I was lonely and bored, essentially. And right around that time, I was really starting to become a big admirer of graffiti and street art. You know, I was starting to like, was going out, like learning from, you know, Sloke, who's like the, you know, godfather of graffiti here. And just kind of like, just like, trying it out, you know, I like to be creative. I'm a creative person. It was like, this is another creative outlet. And I watch the streets and there's these guys like that are getting up around Austin with these screen printed wheat paste posters. And I'm just like, this is so cool. Like they are screen printing this. And I knew it because like, I could see it, I could see that they were screen prints. And I was just I thought that they were like the coolest thing. And so I just reached out. And they were on Flickr. They were like post the stuff that they would bomb up and post it on Flickr. And I just reached out on Flickr. I was like, yo, I see your screen printings, your posters. I think that's fucking cool. I have a screen printing shop too. This is what I'm doing, et cetera. Ryan wrote back and he was like, yeah, that sounds rad. Like, let's kick it. And I don't remember, maybe I went to their place first and it was like, 2 hinges screwed onto a wooden table in a garage, with like clothespins all over the place. And the shop that I had been working with and worked for and left, like they also printed posters. Like it was a like.
So you had a little bit of knowledge on it.
I knew how to print posters, and so I was just like, this is not what I'm used to, because what I didn't start there. Like I started at a shop that had the proper equipment and the proper, all that type of stuff. So I knew when I was going to open the shop up, I knew what I needed. Right. So I was getting that stuff. And, I was like, well, let's come over here. And, I have like proper equipment, and it's not like, the best, but it's proper equipment. I'll still burn the screens in the sun though. We just was like, well, this is like a playground, like let's play. And I was like, I just kind of wanted to be a facilitator because I wasn't confident in like that I could put something out on the streets. Right. Like, and I didn't consider myself, I considered them artists. I didn't consider myself an artist, right? Quote unquote. Brian was like, well, I started showing him my work and like my files and designs and stuff like that. And he's like, no, dude, like, this is cool. Like, you got this, like, let's go. And so right there printed out films and burned a screen and printed posters. And then that night, like, we're out getting up.
It sounds I think it sounds like you are building your team by, I guess, meeting people in your community in the city of Austin. They were doing similar things. They were doing them really well. And you somehow not just hired them, but you kind of like became friends with them.
100%. And so, yeah, like I said, wanted to be a facilitator. I luckily they brought me along the ride with them. And so they were like my first employees because they wanted to like use the shop to, make their work and, like help me like do jobs.
Dylan, that happened to you a little bit too, no? Like, I mean, a lot of your friends work at Upstate.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just my project that I was working on. Because again, like Tony, when I was in the band, my passion was also like the management part. I made all the like show flyers. And then it got to the point where everyone around me wanted flyers that I was making, like hiring me to make flyers. And then when the band was done, I was just like, okay, I know all this stuff. I want to like kind of do this thing. And then my friends who didn't really have anything going on or anything like working anywhere that they thought was fun, they were like, well, I'll go work for Dylan. Mm-hmm. So like, it's not that screen printing was their passion at all. They just wanted to work with me because we knew we could do rad shit together. But this goes into the next question. Short Batch Co says, what are some tips for adding screen printed posters to your shop? Does it require its own setup space, manual, auto, inks, best paper, medium to use?
Yeah, I just want to go back to I want to give Chad his answer, if you don't mind. Chad, like for anybody that's like, you're on that fence, what I want to stress is before you go that route, you need to really dig in and do some soul searching and see if this is what you want to do. because just like you said earlier, you're no longer a printer. You're going to be a manager. You're going to be dealing with other people. And and there's other shops that I know that like, if they want to go fishing on Friday, they just go fishing on Friday, right? Like if it's too much work, increase your pricing, right? Like,
right.
But make sure that there's something that you're ready for, because especially today, in today's at the now time, there's a lot of legal stuff that you need to have your shit on lock before you start bringing on people. And so if you have some buddies and you want to pay them cash and under the table or, whatever, then cool. But just know like that's not very sustainable. And also like it's like, how do you hold people accountable with that type of shit? So it's like, make sure it's something that you want to take on. Like if you really need help, then maybe consider the other options of like contracting, outsourcing. What is it that you really like doing? Is it designing? Is it printing? Is it whatever? And whatever it is like that you're like the third that you don't like to do, try to find another way of doing that. Partner up with a bigger shop, get wholesale pricing, add that up, and then raise your other prices up and everything else. And just continue to go that way. But if you want to hire people, then, by all means go for it. But there's a lot to go that's involved with it. And to answer the other guy, I feel like we attracted a lot of people based on who we were in the community. Like, because we were out on the streets, people kind of made that correlation. Like, oh, those are like, at the time, like there was like what I like to call them like Bubba shops, like, a lot of boomers, like kind of exiting this, the scene of screen printing, et cetera. And like, didn't ever want to do anything like that wasn't a thick underlay on, didn't want to learn about discharge. And so, but here we are, we're like young and vulnerable and just like, let's try anything, and was able to figure it out. And I think that like printers and employees, like they want that. They want to be somewhere where they're going to be challenged, where they're going to continue to learn the thing that they love. Right. And so I think that we provided that because there was a passion for what we were doing. Because what we do, like it matters. So I think creating a culture and an organization that if you have that, people are they're going to want to be a part of it. So I think that answers those people's questions. All right. Sorry. Sure. The next, what were we talking about?
The next one was, what are some tips for adding screen printed posters to your shop?
Yeah, that was an awesome question. Almost kind of like the same scenario, right? It's a completely different process. Your separations are different. Your inks are different. There's so much that is different about the process of cutting ink through a screen between paper and fabric. You don't, and here's the beautiful thing about it is you don't need all the fancy equipment. Like it helps. And if you're going to do that commercially, then yes, you need to start looking at certain things. But I know that there's like a vacuum palette for some machines. I think Rock for sure definitely has those. M&R, I do think M&R does have it as well. But you can get like a vacuum palette to put on your, I guess even on your automatic, and run posters that way. Or, we do, we touched on it a little bit or just kind of mentioned it, but we do a lot of workshops. That's like one of my favorite things to do. But we do a lot of workshops and we just have hinges on wood, like Ryan and Randy had in that garage.
Yeah.
And I love showing it in that way because it's like, this is extremely accessible. And when you start going into, you got to understand that when you start going into like a traditional poster, 18 by 24, you have bigger screens, which means you need a bigger exposure unit. You know, stock different inks, you're going to probably want to get like one of those drying racks, like a stacking drying rack. It's just a much bigger imprint area as a standard. So what I think, and I would love to do a workshop specific to like shop owners who are considering this, is kind of a workshop, taking one of my like creative conference workshops where it's like, it's just with hinges. We're just printing here, right? We're just printing on this, and you'll be able to get it. And I think that that's something that like I would want these people to do, and add it as something that they do internally, like print your holiday cards on it, you know, bring your holiday cards to your clients, you know, screen print it, or, you know, thank you cards or whatever the case may be, just to understand it. I just saw a post recently from Awesome Dudes in Philly. Those are my people over there. And they had an intern, and she posted the very first like print that she did like day one or like week one. And then the one like when she was leaving, like when her term was up or whatever. And at first, like, you know, when I'm just scrolling through it, I'm like, I don't see a difference. But then I'm like, wait, what's going on? And you fucking completely see a difference. It's all blown out, and dude, it's nuts. It's nuts. And that's going to happen if you've printed t-shirts for 10 years and you go and do this, that's still going to happen. Please trust me.
Different world. Yeah, it
is. It's a different finesse with it, especially if you're manually printing it. So start small, do it for internal purposes. And when you're ready to go, we run an M&R Saturn 2538. And I think we have a 3040 as well. We have a UV dryer that we use for like specialty projects, but that was just kind of something that like I got almost for free. You know, you need the big rolling drying racks. I don't know how these we're not automated in our darkroom. So I don't know how that works if you're automated in your darkroom, like what size screens you can put through that machine. But you need to consider your screen sizes and potentially like a bigger washout booth, bigger exposure unit, obviously bigger screens. But yeah, when you're doing it commercially, it is a completely different setup. It could essentially even be a completely different business model. What I really appreciate about it, and it takes a really long time. Not like with the t-shirt, if it's 4 colors, when you put it on and it rotates, that t-shirt is done, right?
Yeah, not the case.
Not the case with the poster. You set up your machine, you print one color, 100 posters, right? If you have 1,000 posters, you print the first color 1,000 times. Tear it down, set up your second screen, unrack all the paper, and then go again. And when you have like a 20 color print, like that's a lot of production time. So that's why it's like a completely different business model.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about it is that, you know, a blank, you know, anything that's going to be worth, you know, that you really want to do something with as far as a blank t-shirt, it's going to be around $4, right? That's like for us, like that's our $4 going in to try to make money on this. With posters, it's like 35 cents. So that's a pretty sweet trade-off. However, it can take a very long time depending on the projects. And also there's a very high level of expectation with clients getting their poster screen printed, right? Like you can't really hide you can't zim a pinhole, you know? And mixing Pantones and stuff like that is a whole science. And if you know how to do it with Plastisol, you have a general knowledge of it, but it doesn't necessarily transfer over to posters.
I'm hearing that before you ever do this, think very, very hard before you invest in a bunch of equipment and try to print posters, because, and I even heard that M&R, you mentioned the Saturn earlier, that they discontinued it because they just weren't selling. And so obviously everybody's gone digital, well, most, and then there's this craft of still screen printed posters, which is really cool because
that's not going to go anywhere.
That's not going to go anywhere, but make equipment, like you're going to have to, I guess, make your own or build your own equipment. Or like you said, do it on hinges. I mean, why not?
You can do it on hinges. I mean, you'll find like deals, people are just going out of business. There's machines out there for sure. Yeah. And I just, if it's, different people, it's like, well, I've screen printed posters. I know how to screen print posters. Like maybe this guy like printed, back in the day, and knows how to screen print posters. But if not, I would treat it. And here's why. I would treat it as an art project for yourself.
Yeah.
For like therapy. It's art therapy.
That's the thing I got from you.
Therapy
was do it internally first. Like do projects for yourself first. Like brand your company or something and use it and try.
Screen print your kids' art
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Screen print your kids' art. Like do something like. I like to, take family photos and bitmap them and then just like print them on like pieces of wood, right? Like just do like, you can do anything with it. You can take your screen, you can put it on a wall, like have fun, like be experimental with it before you want to start offering it as a service. But also like, man, if you want to just offer like 12 by 18 one color posters, if you're going that route all day, 100%, you probably do it on your machine. Just get some speedball ink, some paper that's already cut to 12 by 18. That's another thing. Like cutting your paper sheets is like a 24 by 36 is printed on a 26 by 40. And to be able to cut that, those guillotine cutters, you want to talk about rare equipment, that's super rare, right? So you need to be able to try to even find a cutter to be able to make your poster a 24 by 36 poster. Right. So there's a lot that goes into it. But if you start small and you keep it easy, one color type joints and build out a package, which I'm like all for that. I think that you'll start to be able to build yourself up.
Nice. Made by James says, how important is it to constantly reinvent yourself as a business? How are you staying true to your core, but always evolving your offering?
I love James. That's my dude from across the pond. I think that for me personally, the reinvention of myself reinvents the business. Like having a growth mindset and being able to see what I've learned over my lifespan and be able to apply that outside of making t-shirts. So now like I can give a marketing proposal, right? Or a social media concept or just, or branding and identity. And just taking all of these things that I've been able to soak up and just apply it outside of t-shirts. Where else do I apply it to? Now we have an in-house design agency because we can start doing branding and identity. And also like having a growth mindset and also having an open mind. Like I'm a purist. I love screen printing, right? Like it's personal. It's my personal preference. I love screen printing. You have to be really hard pressed to want to collect something that was printed digitally as far as artwork that I'm going to hang on my wall. I don't, with that being said, I don't trash the other processes. Like I'm an and person. It's not going to be this or that. I'm like this and that. Like having that open mind to be able to, find processes that you're like, well, I really wouldn't want to do that. And I'll be able to apply it and say, well, look, now we can start dealing with people, when we're slow and somebody calls and they want 6 shirts, well, maybe if we get DTF transfers, then we can take this on. Right. So just having an open mind. And when you have an open mind, I feel like it allows you to start thinking outside the box. Like I was saying earlier, it's like, I'm just so in the business. It's kind of hard to see some things, like for printers, like they're just like, they're inside that screen. They're just, and they're having a problem. I'm able to come in and zoom out and say, hey, look, what about this? What if we do this? And it just, they're better printers than me for sure. But it's having that insight that really helps drive the business.
I'd like to add, piggyback on something you said, and that is, I think reinvention needs to be less of a strategy and more of, what do you think's cool? Or what are you interested in? What do you want to do next? Like, oh, I'd really love to do this. And I think you should just do that. I think it should be less of a strategy, because I don't know that you would like that. I don't know that you'd end up really valuing it and liking that. And so I think that's what I've always done anyway. I was like, what do I want to do when I did that?
To the question is like, how important is it to do that? I think it's very important. And I think that if you have that as just like, you're not doing it because of this, but you have it as something as a motivator, like something that's kind of pushing you internally. And you have an open mind, you have growth mindset, you're going to find ways to be able to reinvent yourself that will then translate to be able to reinvent your business and your business offerings.
Benny Gold asks, ask him about helping me reimagine my brand as a personal design project after scaling it back.
This is like a dream come true, right? Like this opportunity to be able to work with Benny, become like business partners with Benny has been like 43 years old. It's been 43 years in the making, right? Like to be able to win the trust of somebody and be the ultimate facilitator for them has been like, it's very fulfilling. So when I talk to, very much like when I would throw myself to these bands, being like, thank you for playing. You have no idea how much your music affects me and has made this impact. And like, I would just be real with these bands, like, and a lot of them were like, you're my guy. Like, thank you. This is what I was trying to do, And so, that passion and that love just really just kind of grew beyond just music and became into visual art. So I'm very much like, I have like my heroes and the people that I look up to and the people that I collect. And regardless if I built a relationship with them, I'm like, these are still my people. These are still my heroes. I look up to them. And so very much so like that, I throw myself to the, like, I want to be a tool in your drawer. Like I'm another pencil. I'm another marker. I'm another piece of paper. Like I am a tool for you to create. So just like when you want to create something, then you hit me up because I got you, right? I collect you. I study you. I love the work that you make. I know how you want it to come out.
Right.
Right. Like I know your vision. I can remove my ego out of it and just completely listen and study the artwork and problem solve with you and everything. Just be a part of your process. And that's what I feel like attracts the type of clients that we have the absolute privilege to be working with. And so with Benny, he came, I co-produce a creative conference called Crop. And I started off just being involved with it, but started co-producing it when we were doing these events called Pop-Up Crop. So Crop is like a bigger creative conference, like 300-400 people. And we were doing these pop-up crops. You know, we only did a few of them before COVID hit, but the concept was like, it's crop, but it's like half, right? Just, and we can travel with it. We can move around with it. It's like a 1-day thing, in and out, you know? And so Benny did, I think it was our second pop-up crop in Portland. And he came, he was a speaker, and it was just my opportunity to be able to like get in front of Benny and just be like, yo, like, I appreciate you. Like, if you do rad shit, you're fucking doing this shit for the community and for the love of it. And, you know, obviously like people love his stuff. So just always kind of like trying to stay on his radar. Hey, if you ever want to print a poster, hey, if you ever need anything, like hit me up, or maybe a special project. Like anything that I can do to help you, like hit me up. And he like right as all that was kind of happening, he's like, I think he was just burned out on Benny Gold being his food source, I guess, you know, and, you know, trying to maintain a flagship store and do fulfillment and design and be creative and all those types of things. I think it just took a toll despite the success that he had. And plus we're all human, right? Like it's perception is reality for the outside looking in, right? Like on our outside, we're like, it's Benny Gold. Like, you know, he's probably like, you know, he's got, you know, all the cars and all this stuff. Like, you know, I don't know, you think he's well off just because of like, you know, he's a fashion mogul or, you know, whatever. And, you know, it's like that perception is not always what it is. It's just like a normal guy, like, you know, trying to put food on the table and make a difference. So he went off and got an agency job and like was just completely crushing it there, like as expected. And he started to have like this creative itch, you know, he was kind of like posting about it and stuff. And I was like poking him, dude, let's go. Chance. Let's go. Like this, like all you need to do is just like create, just be the creative. Don't worry about the shirts. Don't worry about production. Don't worry about meeting a minimum. Don't worry about how much it's going to cost. Like, don't worry about any of that. Let's just go. Let's get out of our own heads. Nobody's going to care what people are going to think about me coming back, and stop that. And let's just go. Right. Let's like, just put a logo on a t-shirt, man. Like people love you. They love this. Like, let's go. And so he started off with wanting to do like a pre-order thing. And what we ended up doing was using that, what is it? Thermogenic, where it turns but it turns colors when it's in the sun. Was that thermochromatic?
Sounds like a UV activated ink.
Exactly, 100%. Where like it's a timer, like a sand timer, and when you're inside, you don't see it, but when you go outside, it appears that there's sand, and essentially it's like the time is now. Like stop wasting, like go out and do shit. Was the whole point of it. So that way, when you go outside to see what this is, right? This is like, it was a statement piece to take action, and it went off bonkers. It went crazy. And we're kind of talking through it. And again, I was like, we can do the fulfillment. We can do everything. Like, let's just, all you need to do is send me designs, approve the samples, and talk about it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Do everything else. And with the success of that one release, was like, all right, cool. He was ready to like really get down. And we worked, it was funny because we were in kind of like on conversations, and he had sent me this thing. It was like a kind of like just a PDF deck of like Benny Gold classics. And the concept was just to release some old like signature designs. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And the conversation pivots to like the next special project, right? Like he wants to do capsule collections, and I'm like, I'm all about that, but they're more involved. And I'm like, cool, but let's just like kind of like the same thing I talked about earlier with clients. It's like, let's just get your core items up. Like, let's not hold up what we know is going to work to figure out these other things. Like, let's just do this because that's an automatic process. And then we can focus our efforts on these special things. So conversation just kind of started to pivot to the special thing. And I kind of brought it back to one, like, I was like, well, what about Benny Gold's? What about classics? And he was like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do that. So we released that stuff, and we just added some new pieces, and we're just gonna keep adding to it. And like I said, it's been a dream come true to be able to work with somebody of that caliber, the talent that he has, and just like, he's just a good dude. Like, he's like, when you talk with him on the phone, it's like, you feel better. Like, it's like, I don't know, man, he's just a really good dude. You know, and I'm real fortunate, and I'm extremely grateful that he trusted not just me, but like, you know, like the entire shop with his brand. I feel like, you know, oh, Tony, you know, you've been talking all that shit. Like, well, let's see what's really good. And I think, like, you know, it's our chance to be able to do that. And you know, like, to be fair, it's red and blue, like on a white t-shirt. Like, you can't really, you know, mess that up too much. But it's not about like the process of what it makes to create this. It's like, what this is what matters. Like, the creation itself is what matters for this particular project. So it's been a bucket list type of thing to do a project like this, to be able to have a partner. Because here's the thing, everybody listening, like, you're creating your own work. My goal is to be like my own client. Like, I just want to have brands and projects that, like, we have all the toys, is go back along with like my creative director. What he started with was like a t-shirt line too. And like, when we started out, at that point, the technology, the things that we have access to now, we didn't have access to that. Now we have access to these things, and we're not doing our own thing. Like, no, let's flip the script. Let's become our own client and just be the creatives and push out our own production, because we can do it in-house, and ultimately, hopefully, grow into being our own client. Not to say like I don't value the relationships and the clients that we have now, but, you know, we don't have to take everything on, is my point with that.
Yeah.
You know, like to somehow maintain your original reason why you started. You said you want to be like this low key shop, and somehow stay that way over all the years is really tough, you know, because sometimes growing is not just what you want to do. It's what your maybe team wants. You know, if you want to keep your team happy, a lot of times they want growth. You know, they want to work at a bigger company, or with like, they want another designer in the room that they can bounce ideas off of, or they want to get another, like maybe a direct to screen, you know, for the screen room, just to make things easier and more efficient. But that costs money, which means you have to grow, you know? And so all these things, like, sometimes growth, it just happens and you don't even really want it to, you know?
No, for me, like what I didn't realize when I started that was like, because I was still young, like I didn't have the self-realization of how ambitious I was. So like, my ambition was greater than my intention, and I just didn't know that. And now I know that. I think that's really what it was. It was like, telling myself this thing, but like, really, like, you're a hustler. Like you're not going to stay quiet. You know, I was off the beaten path for a reason. And then what happens? I got lonely, right? So, reaching out for connection and through creativity, it was like, that's that. And also just having this ambition of like, all right, what's next? All right, cool. Mm-hmm. What's the next thing we can do? You know,
it just seems like a lot of your story and a lot of what's happening and a lot of kind of your passion for this whole thing has just been like the arts and the creative part of it, and like touring with bands to just be part of that, like you said, that energy and that flow and that feeling. And it feels like you're translating that to printing and posters. And you say that you're really passionate about like these pop-ups and these, camps and classes and workshops and stuff like that. So it feels like that's where your head is, even with the softball, it's like just a way to spread that passion and that, drive to do those things. So that's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Andy, do you want to try some over-unders?
Yes. So we've reached the portion of our show where I have 9 over-unders, and I'm going to say them one at a time, and you tell me or us if it's overrated, underrated, or properly rated. First one is ketchup.
Properly rated. Very properly rated.
I only put ketchup on meatloaf. That's it.
My question is that too hype? Is ketchup overrated for you, Dylan? Is that what you're saying?
I just don't like condiments. Oh, weirdo.
Okay. Ketchup is extremely necessary, my man. Please.
Okay.
I think I'm with you. Properly rated. However, be sure to buy.
You're a no sugar
added ketchup, because you think that you need the sugar in there. Like, oh, of course it's going to taste better, but no, false. It tastes better without the sugar. I think it's better for you. Number 2.
Absolutely.
Single point light source.
You talking about for exposure?
For exposure.
I mean, I don't know the baseline of what the rating is of what people are saying. I would say that it's properly rated for the amount of hype that we have for it, specifically for posters.
Okay.
Well, that's true for you. For poster printing, it probably makes a bigger difference just because of the amount of detail and everything you can get with it. I know, Andy, you asked it because you fucking have one and you think it's fucking the best thing since
I didn't ask it so that I could say anything.
Yes,
I won't even give you my opinion. Just curious.
I mean, I am a huge fan of it, and if it's if there's I don't know. It depends on who I'm talking to, right? Over under, but like I appreciate it. I'm thankful to have it. We are stoked with it, so I think it is properly rated in my world.
Okay, next we have number 3.
It's an and thing, right? You gotta have both, like, right? Like, sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
Number 3 is draw cords on hoodies.
I usually pull all mine out.
I'll just say overrated. I mean, for personally, yeah, like I don't need them. I'm not gonna touch drawstrings for a client, like that's their own thing. But yeah, I guess.
How often are you like tightening up the hood over your head?
Never.
Exactly. I mean, for me, like you wear it over the hat. You got to have room. You gotta have the shoulder room.
Pull
too,
it tight.
Right? That's silly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we all agree that they are overrated.
Yeah, overrated. Yeah.
All right. Number 4, edibles.
Properly rated.
I've only ever done.
Why am I neutral on all this?
I've only ever done one, and it was with you.
With Tony
with Joanne. With Joanne.
Oh! I was like, it must be really good because I don't remember.
Tony had too many edibles to remember him giving me an edible. No, and I thought it was amazing. Like I asked her for one for sleep, and she gave me one, and it kicked my ass. So I would say underrated for me personally. But
it also depends on like the kind and how it's made and stuff like that, because there's like with everything, there's good stuff. There's
1,000%. Yeah. There's all sorts of different combinations. What are you looking for? 1-1 balanced or 2-1 CBD. You want to be in the daytime, you in nighttime. My thing is that I only started using them for pain. And because I had taken infinity Advil and my body was starting to break down. And I told myself that I can't take another Advil. I've got to stop it. But what am I going to take? What else is there? And so luckily Missouri is recreational, and I just down the street and got some edibles, and it changed everything for me, really. So
that's awesome.
I am going with underrated because I didn't know. Like, I was just one of those people who were like, I don't know, I don't feel like having edibles all the time or whatever. But if you're using it to manage chronic pain, then it's a wonderful thing. It actually does work.
I mean, it's medicine. It's medicine, you know? So, I mean, you know, and to each their own as well, you know? But that's, if it's a, I think that it becomes like taboo when you're doing it just to do it, right? You know, or like to have escapism, or, you know, it's just like, you know, drinking. But like if you drink to like wash away the pain, but you know, if it's beneficial to you, like by all means, like again, open minds.
All right. Number 5. I hope, and I think you have these where you are, Aldi.
The grocery store.
No, we don't have that. I have to pass.
This is going to sound terrible, but to me, growing up, Aldi was like the you're broke grocery store, which we shopped at. So I'm not knocking it. It was the store you would go to because it was like the cheapest place to get groceries. I feel like nowadays it's like hyped and it's got like its own branding. People buy like Aldi shirts and stuff, and it's like a Trader Joe's. I feel like where people are like, oh, I only shop at Aldi and like all this other stuff. So
I think that I would say that Aldi reinvented themselves. I think they went through every store. And
well, aren't they brothers? The one brother owns Aldi and the other brother owns
Whole Foods. That's like an urban legend thing. They do own each other, but it's not. They weren't brothers.
Oh.
But yeah, so I think Aldi's underrated if you haven't had a chance, because like Dylan, you had this impression of them from years ago. I think maybe.
Well, for me, it's like Champion. It's like when we were kids, Champion was like the cheap kid clothes, and like I had a ton of Champion. Like we went to the Champion outlet. And now Champion's like this fucking fashion brand. And it's like, what is happening?
I don't have that recollection of Champion from when I was growing up.
I do. Well, for me, it was Champion outlet. Like there was a store near me where it was like Champion would send all their like messed up shit to. And then like, that's where my mom would go get like me like gym clothes and stuff for like sports, where it was like the pocket was sewn wrong or one leg's longer than the other or like weird colors or something.
We have HEB as a grocery store. Shout out to HEB. They are the bomb. They're like, everybody in Texas loves HEB. There's no way that they are extremely properly rated.
Do they have good, like if you go there to their bakery or deli and stuff like that, do they have good prepared meals? Dude. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Good everything. Like it's like they're legit. And like, so I think it was when we had like the big like power shutdowns during the winter. I think it was like, you know, it was a big deal. The power shut down like during the day at HEB, like just everywhere. And so, you know, they had no way of ringing anybody up, and they were like, open the doors, go ahead, just take what you need, go ahead.
That's awesome. And
I was just like, dude, like that. I mean, honestly, like it's a bottom line. It's a drop in the bucket. Like what? Like one store's worth of sales and over an afternoon, right? Like over like everything else that they have going on. It's like that really didn't. That's probably nothing for them to just be like, you guys go do that. And I think that was just a really amazing.
It hooked you. If anything, it was marketing. It made you want to support them even more.
Just being good, you know, just doing the right thing. That's just doing the right thing.
Okay. So I don't know where we landed on Aldi, but the next one is Whole Foods.
We're just going to go grocery store chains.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking overrated.
I mean, they're from Austin too. And, you know, I don't want to like get shunned.
So,
but I would probably say overrated as well, especially when you have HEB. I mean, Whole Foods is rad, you know, like, you know, shout out to them for like introducing like, you know, like organic as something that like, you know, is the standard. Right. But yeah, I mean, now,
Now it's owned by Amazon.
HEB, and you can do this and you can do that.
Like,
it's like, yeah, no, I'd stick with the hometown hero. Well, I guess there are hometown heroes, but so is HEB. But yeah, over.
I'm with over. I'm going with everybody else. I'm over also. I had to go there because there's one right by our house and I needed broccoli. It was the closest place. And I went in to just get some broccoli and it was like $10,000. All right. Number 7 is a graphic design degree.
Overrated.
Very overrated. Mm-hmm. Extremely overrated. Yes. I'm sorry.
If you're good at it, just do it.
I don't want to, like, if you're out there and you're getting your degree, like, you know, just God quit. Bless, like, just, you know, or if you quit and you cut your losses or whatever. But like, if you're like, just, you know, have to see it through, but it's not necessary. I feel like degrees in general aren't necessary to be successful in life.
I'm a Tony.
I would say very overrated.
I might have already asked this one, but it's a good one. So we'll do it again. If so, it's naps.
Personally, like I completely underrated. Like I need more naps. I wish I had.
I think underrated, but I can't take naps. So.
Oh yeah, well you could. You just have to have them like a portable.
I just have to go home and lay in my bed and turn my machine on.
So what I did this. I do this from time to time, especially when I'm like, you know, working into like a new like cycle, like fitness cycle or something like that. Is like I'll have a forced nap at like 3 o'clock, and if I don't go to sleep, that's okay. I just still lay and rest, and just lay there, turn off all the lights, just lay there as if I am going to take a nap. And if I can't, like, or I don't, like, that's fine. But I have a timer. And if I do happen to fall asleep, it just like, boom, I'm like right up. And so I do it under my desk, like George Costanza.
I do it beside my desk because
he's not kidding either. He lays on the floor.
Yeah, I have a yoga mat and a pillow, and to decompress. You know how on a lot of times people have watches. They'll say, "Oh, it's time to stand," or whatever. You're supposed to stand. I have this. I've been standing this whole time at the standing desk, but that's more pressure on my spine. But then I lay down. Like normally when I'm here all day, I'll lay down maybe 4 times. You know, not to sleep, but just to lay there. And I get my phone and open my email on my phone. And
the best part is when you walk in Andy's office, all you see are his fucking feet hanging out, and you're like, "Oh, he's dead on the floor."
Hey, you know. I'm here. I'm trying, hanging in there. Number 9.
The weirdest part is that he takes his pants off.
Oh,
well, there's a heat wave level here, you know. So, right. Number 9 is because I have this question because I have this over under because at our summer camp, I said it was the most important reason why we were there, and that is making friends.
So making friends is the over under.
That's the over under.
It's, I mean,
highly underrated.
Extremely underrated.
As many friends as you can get.
You know, I consider that I've experienced a great deal. I'm fortunate enough to have experienced a great deal of a success, and success doesn't come without failure, right? Have just as many failures. And you know, like on paper, you you look at revenue and, you know, what that looks like, and the staff that we have, and the brand that's been created, and the exposure and the attention that the business gets. It's like, that's all success, but it's nothing compared to the relationships that have been formed. Like that for me is the true success. Like the access that I have to my heroes, people that I look up to, like Morning Breath, and Fail and New York, and just, you know, these people that have like just inspire me, and to be able to say like we break bread, and we're we do the same thing for Morning Breath that we do for Benny Gold. Like, we're business partners. We're so much, and it's just like those relationships are just so valuable. 100%. Those relationships have just brought in other opportunities, and I think that's very underrated.
I feel like the same for me is like, if I didn't have friends and I was just doing this business to make money, it wouldn't be worth anything to me. Everything I do is with friends. The reason why I have this business is because I did it with my friends. Like, the money I make at this business, I share with my friends, and we do fun shit together. And just being in the industry alone, like meeting Andy and like a million other printers and just people at industry events that I'm all friends with, like, that's what I do this for. Like, I do all of this to be able to hang out with friends. I don't give a fuck about the amount of money it makes, because it doesn't mean anything if I can't go do something with my friends. So it's everything. It's the whole thing.
Yeah. Cheers.
So overrated.
Tony, thank you for talking shop with us today. I have one more AKA for you, and that is going to be Hype Man. Because
hype.
I like it. I mean, that's what you did for when you were selling merch. That's what you did for Benny Gold. I feel like that's an appropriate AKA.
I appreciate that. I just, to be of service to other people, I think is like, I love it. It makes me happy, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that for a lot of people. I think what we do matters, and I think that, in general, if I can just put some closing words out to people, there's this dichotomy in the way that I look at what we do. It's the first one that kind of allows me to close my eyes at night and actually get some sleep is, it's just t-shirts. It's just t-shirts. It's not gonna kill me. It's not gonna kill the business. It's just t-shirts. Somebody's upset. We messed up something, whatever. It's just t-shirts. Then to the flip side of that, to keep things interesting, it's both. It's and it's the most important thing. Like, what I tell my people is, we're creating culture. The clients that we're working with,
it's identity.
They are culture. Like, people identify with these lifestyles, with the Benny Gold brand, with Morning Breath, with the bands that we print for. Like, there's a lot of soul that goes into the stuff that we're creating. We're creating culture, and that matters. Like, the work that we do right now is going to be preserved. I was in Seattle after this conference that we did, the Into the Woods conference. And I was in Seattle. We went to the Museum of Popular Culture, and in there hanging was the first screens that Nirvana's t-shirts were printing, right? Like, and then there's a whole room of all of the Pearl Jam posters that are screen printed. And so the work that we do is going to be preserved. Yeah. The things that we do matter, and we're creating culture. And so it's being able to that's what keeps me passionate. That's what keeps me going, is knowing that what we're doing matters. But at the same time, it's like, we're not saving lives here, so we can always reprint a job. We can always try to do what we can do to regain trust for whatever reason. But we shouldn't be beating ourselves up or losing sleep or putting our health at risk or our relationships at risk for this, because it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Exactly. It's the most important thing, and it's not.
Right.
And you got to live with that, and you got to be forgiving of yourself. But you also got to be like a dog. like you gotta want this too, right? like, yo, like this is not for the faint of heart. Like this shit is hard. You know, you get into it because you love printing, you love designing, you love this. But when you grow into the point that like, you know, pretty much everybody that you speak with and you know, everybody here on this call is like we're doing shit that's completely like not doing what I was doing in the very day one, nor should we, right? Unless you want to. But it's quite a journey. And the people that are currently on it, like, you know, I love you, keep going. If I can help you, let me know. But I also just want to I wanted to make sure that I expressed it. I think I said it. I know I said it at ISS, but like, thank you guys. Like what you guys are doing for this community is beyond words. Like it's everything. It's everything that this community needs. We need to come together. We need to hear our stories. We need to build each other up because it's hard out here in these streets, right? And you guys are bringing this to, you're bringing personality to these names, right? And after the show, like you feel like you know this person, and you feel like you see them at a trade show, and you're like, all of a sudden they're your buddy, right? Like, but they're just bringing awareness people. And everything that you're doing and bringing everybody up. I can't. Like you guys deserve a trophy, the championship belt, all the hardware. You guys deserve it.
Thanks, man.
I want to make sure that you guys get your flowers now, because that's like it's phenomenal. The effort. I mean, this takes effort and all this stuff, and Christine, right? Christina, like she's like, you guys have her now. It's like, dude, like she's rad. I just spoke with her for longer than what we were booked for yesterday, and like it was like time just flew with her. And like you guys are a great team and doing all this and putting it all out there for what? For everybody else. And I love that. So thank you guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man. Thanks, Tony.
But again, thank you for being on. I love your story. I love you as a person. So thanks for doing what you do. And I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, man.
Later, dude.
Thanks.